go live.
Yes.
So it's going live now. And we are live.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
I don't see it yet.
I trust it's working. Let's get started.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like wrap it up promptly.
Okay. Okay.
Frank, you have the floor.
Okay, just a moment. Okay. Is anybody else hearing thuds?
Oh, sorry, I'll mute my microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. Alec is, let's give him a second to rejoin.
I'm here. Would it be all right if I cut my video off?
Yeah, that's fine. I just didn't realize that you were there. All right, so the time is 5:50. We're starting just a little bit late. We called the general membership meeting to order, and we'll go ahead and get started. For the record, I see Jacob Kraniak is with us, Captain Cowan or Kit Cowan is with us, Alec Foster is with us, and of course, I am with you. Excuse me. So we'll go right straight down our hit parade here, and starting with the administrative report. A few things to take care of on that side of things. First of all, the search for somebody to handle secretarial roles, to the extent that that we can find someone, is continuing. I sent out several messages to the person that I have in mind, and her name is Janine Leitner. Janine, if you're out there in Facebook land or wherever, and you hear this message, please get in touch with me as soon as you can. I believe also that that Kit had somebody that she was talking to about those duties up further along upstate than we are here. So to the extent that anybody knows of somebody that might be willing to help us out with that, please let somebody on the board know, and we'll reach out and contact them. Next item on my hit parade is consumer report. Whoops. Is consumer reports. I think that most of the people that are with me, and many of you out there in Facebook land, are aware of the fact that Tim Marvin at Consumer Reports is actively involved in pursuing survey information, a little bit more detail, actually a lot more detail than we've been doing, and so I have reached out to him. I got a brief email back. I have a feeling that's because they're inundated right now with responses, given the nature of the problems, not just with Optimum, but the one piece of information that I did manage to get in all of this is that there are other offenders out there as well, including Verizon, Spectrum, and Comcast, that are also. I don't want to use the word investigated because it's not really the appropriate word. I just can't think of a better word. But these are agencies and organizations that are also being looked at for unfair competitive practices, along with any number of other things, in exchange for getting a little bit more information about what they're doing. I also mentioned the fact that we are currently connected with Jill Faber and with Michelle Hinchy up in New York 46, and the AG's office, et cetera. And so my guess is that once they get the numbers under control at Consumer Reports, that they will reach out to us again, and perhaps we can both help each other in that regard. There might be things we can do for them. I'm pretty sure there are things they can do for us, even if nothing else, then then place, an ad directing people to our website or to our Twitter feed or what have you. But whatever happens with that, I'm fine with it. As things develop with that, I'll probably bring Alec into the mix, because outreach is his department. Having said that, wait a minute. I am missing. Oh, right. So those are the two priority items that I have in my report. And just so that everybody's aware of it, we will be reading or having the first reading of bylaws, but that is not something that we can do in my report. That'll come under new business, which is coming up in a little bit. With that, unless anybody wants to chime in with question, comment, concern about the items that were just covered.
Frank, the one thing I wanted to add was on the same topic with Consumer Reports, I tweeted at the Consumer Reports Advocacy Twitter account asking them some questions about that same survey.
Okay.
I was asking, what are the plans for the survey? Because I couldn't find any details on their website. When should we hear the results? What will be done with the results? And they did respond saying that we should hear results from that survey in the fall. So we have a general end date for that, and they are going to analyze the bills and provide a public report on the findings. And they do plan on sharing the results with federal and state policymakers and regulators across the country. So that's very good to hear.
Right. I have reason to believe that it's going to be a little bit later than that. I think fall is pie in the sky thinking, because what I was told when I asked the same question to Tim Marvin is they're thinking closer to Christmas time than to the fall. But either way, it's going to be a darn sight better than it is now. And the last thing that you want to do is start trying to impress people with this information as it's getting closer to Thanksgiving and Christmas. You want them at a time when they're actually going to hear what you're saying. Right. So yeah, I understand all too well about that. I also mentioned at one point that we would share the data that we have. Once they're comfortable that they've got the lion's share of data from their membership. It's probably worth pointing out, just for full disclosure, I'm actually a member of Consumer Reports. So, not for nothing, but hopefully I would be one of the people that would actually see that information, because I'm always poking around on the website there anyway. So moving along to the tech report, Jacob?
Nothing new to report. I yield the floor.
Okay. Do we have any more traffic to our surveys? And I mean, I know you mentioned right before we went on the air with this that we have a lot of traffic to our Twitter account.
Right. So I will say that we are over a 28-day summary. We have 53 new followers in a 28-day period. So we're getting a lot of good growth on our Twitter account. That's where I'm doing a lot of the public engagement. Mentions are up 3.8%. And I believe, if I switch over to this view, our average engagement rate for the past 28 days is 2.9%, which is actually very good.
Okay, and that's on
Twitter.
On Twitter, okay.
Yeah.
2.9%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, and going to the treasurer's report, Kit.
Yeah, it's the same as it was last week. 147.80 in the checking, and it's $50 in the savings, although they call it $45, and I guess you have to have $5 in there.
Okay. And what happened? Wasn't there some sum of money that was like in limbo?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, I forgot to check on that. From Thrive Spring, and they sent it through Uncommon Giving. So I got a letter from Uncommon Giving, and I guess I have to set up an account and go look at it. It's another like Venmo and PayPal, and, it's kind of like that. I forgot about it. Yeah.
Okay. Thrive Spring.
Yeah, and that's
Now,
$50. So once I figure that out, I'll put it in the checking.
okay. Also, I guess on a related question for that, there was also there was something else that we were supposed to follow up on the Treasury report. I'm trying to remember what it was. I'm actually looking at my notes from the last meeting. Oh, there was a letter or an email or something that we were supposed to send out to. I don't know whether it was Thrive Spring or whether it was some other organization, and you would send information. They sent it back to you saying that they needed something else.
Yeah, it was taken care of.
Okay,
That is
all right.
Thrive Spring, and it was Charlotte Cecil, and she needed, I forget what the number was, but I gave it to her.
Okay.
So now what's
All right.
left to do is I just have to open it and set up an online account with Uncommon Giving.
Got it. Okay. If there's nothing else from the Treasury, we'll go to outreach. Alec?
That's it.
Cool. Just on my end, I was sending an email to that publication that Jacob flagged today, but no other updates on my end. I haven't received any emails.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to fill Frank and Kit in, if they hadn't still seen it, that was the Greater Long Island Media, I believe it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never even heard of that organization, but I guess they must exist.
Might be a one-person organization.
Could be.
How unusual.
Mm-hmm.
All right. At the moment, we don't have any special projects that are hanging out there, as far as I know. Anybody have any kind of special projects to bring up? Anything that I'm forgetting?
Wasn't Robert supposed to write up a thing, Jacob? Remember we were talking about that on Slack, and we asked him to write it up in such a way. He was talking about his types of businesses. I forget what it was about. He said he would write it up, but I haven't heard anything.
I'll have to. Give me a minute to look up, and I'll just so I can refresh my memory.
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
find it.
I'm not sure that I was on that string. I don't remember anything about that. So,
Yeah. Forget what it was about.
We can continue. I'll chime in if I find it.
Okay.
okay. So, any old business that we need to bring to the floor right now? I don't think that there's that there's anything else that's hanging out there. I think that the only other thing would be characterized as new business, and new business would actually be the reading of or the first reading, I should say, of the bylaws. Which, if you'll all give me a second, I'll put my glasses on and get set to go ahead with that.
Ooh, dapper.
And unfortunately, it's time to bifocals for these eyes.
Join the club.
Oh, okay, I think I found it. It was in the Outreach Community channel. It was him. He was commenting on something for, a conversation I was having on Reddit with an individual about what was it? Yeah, definitions of monopoly, broadband competition, and
Right.
yeah, it looks like he said he would check that out. So we can follow up with that offline.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Maybe just send a message over the Slack or something. Okay. So as we go along from here, I have to switch screens and everything. So Jacob, just make sure you keep the audio and video running while this is going on.
Yep. Still running.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to conduct the first reading of the bylaws. If there's a question or if anything, a question, comment, concern, please jot them down. Please don't interrupt while I'm doing this. And at the end, there'll be a pause for questions, comments, answers, and a breath mint. Okay. Let's see. Switch. Okay. Let me just make sure everybody can hear me.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay. The name of the excuse me, Bylaws of the Fair Internet Coalition. The name of the organization is and shall be Fair Internet Coalition. The organization is organized in accordance with the New York Nonprofit Corporation Act as amended. The organization has not been formed for the making of any profit or personal financial gain. The assets and income of the organization shall not be distributable to or benefit the trustees, directors, or officers, or any other individual associated with the organization. The assets and income shall only be used to promote corporate purposes as described below within these bylaws. Nothing contained herein, however, shall be deemed to prohibit the payment of reasonable compensation to employees and independent contractors who may from time to time be hired for services provided for the benefit of the organization as a whole. This organization shall not carry on any other activities not permitted to be carried on by an organization exempt from federal income taxes. The organization shall not endorse, contribute to, work for, or otherwise support or oppose a candidate for public office. The purpose of the organization is the following: to educate and advocate for consumers on their internet options, promoting smaller or municipal internet service providers, otherwise known as ISPs, and engaging with legislators and the legal system to ensure fair competition within the ISP industry. The organization is organized exclusively for the purposes pursuant to Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. Article 1, meetings. Section 1, annual meeting. An annual meeting shall be held once each calendar year for the purpose of electing directors and for the transaction of such business as may be properly brought before the board in the meeting. The annual meeting shall be held at the time and place designated by the board of directors at the appropriate time, and such time shall be posted at least 30 days prior to said meeting. Section 2, special meetings. Special meetings may be requested by the president/administrative director or by any member of the board. A special meeting of members is not required to be held at a geographic location if the meeting is held by means of the internet or any other electronic communication or technology in a manner pursuant to which members have the opportunity to read or hear the proceedings substantially concurrent with the occurrence of the proceedings and note or comment on matters submitted to the members, pose questions, and make comments. Section 3, notice. When notice of all meetings shall be provided under this section or as otherwise required by law, the notice shall state the place, date, and hour of meeting, and if for a special meeting, the purpose of said special meeting. Such notice shall be mailed to all directors of record, either via U.S. mail, properly addressed with postage prepaid, or via email with a return receipt to the address shown on the corporate records at least 10 days prior to such a meeting. Such notice shall be deemed effective when deposited in the ordinary course of business. Section 4, place of meeting. Meetings shall be held at the organization's principal place of business unless otherwise noted and stated in the notice. Given the fact that this organization is regulated and run through a PO box located in New York, this organization shall meet routinely by electronic means unless the majority of the board of directors deems otherwise. Unless the articles of incorporation or bylaws provide otherwise, the board of directors may permit any or all directors to participate in a regular or special meeting or conduct the meeting through use of any means or communications, electronic or otherwise, which are designated by the board. Blah, blah. Okay. Quorum. The majority of the directors shall constitute a quorum at a meeting. In the absence of a quorum, a majority of the directors may adjourn the meeting to another time when meeting business shall be conducted without further notice. If a quorum is represented at an adjourned meeting, any business may be transacted that might have been transacted as if it was normally scheduled original meeting. Directors present at such meeting representing a quorum shall continue to transact business until adjournment, even if the withdrawal of some directors results in the representation of less than a quorum. Section 6, informal actions. Any action to be taken or which may be taken at a meeting may be taken without a meeting and without prior notice if a consent in writing setting forth the action to be taken is signed by the directors with respect to such subject matter prior to when the meeting would have taken place. Article 2, directors. Number of directors, Section 1. The organization shall be managed by a board of directors consisting of 5. Total Class A directors will include the administrative director, also known as president or chairman, a secretary. Class B directors include the treasurer and deputy director or vice president and the director of outreach. The director of outreach is an at-large seat and shall be subject to the same terms contained in Section 2 below. Election in terms of officers. The director shall be elected at the annual meeting. Each director shall serve terms in accordance with the following. Class A directors will serve a 2-year term. Class B directors and the at-large director will serve 3-year terms, or until a successor has been duly elected and qualified if the need arise. Section 3, quorum. Majority of directors shall constitute a quorum for the purpose of conducting any business for the organization. Adverse interest, Section 4. In the determination of a quorum of the directors or in voting, the disclosed adverse interest of the director shall not disqualify the director or invalidate his or her vote. Section 5. Regular meetings. The board of directors shall meet immediately after the election for the purpose of electing and installing new officers, appointing new committee members or committee chairpersons, and for transacting any other such business as may be deemed appropriate per installation protocol. The board of directors may provide by resolution for additional regular meetings without notice other than notice provided by the resolution itself. Section 6, special meetings. Special meetings may be requested by the administrative director or president, the vice president or deputy director, the secretary, or by any 2 directors by providing at least 5 days written notice by ordinary U.S. mail or by email or electronic option with a return receipt or proof of delivery. Minutes of the meeting shall be sent to the board of directors within 2 weeks after such meeting. Section 7, procedures. A vote of the majority of the directors present at a properly called meeting at which a quorum is present shall be the act of the board of directors unless the vote of a greater number is required by law or by these bylaws for a particular resolution. The director of the organization who is present at a meeting of the board of directors at which an action is taken on any corporate matter shall be presumed to have assented to the action taken unless their dissent shall officially be entered into the minutes of the meeting. The board shall keep written minutes of its meetings and proceedings and shall make those meetings public to all membership to all members. Informal actions. An action required to be taken at a meeting of the directors, or any action which may be taken at a meeting of the directors or of a committee of directors may be taken without a meeting if the consent of all involved is received in writing, setting forth all action so that it can be signed off by all within 10 days of said meeting. Section 9, removal or vacancies. Directors shall be subject to removal with or without cause and a meeting called for such purpose. Any vacancy that occurs on the board of directors by virtue of such a revocation or removal, whether by death, resignation, or adverse removal, or any other cause, may be filled by the remaining directors or by special election. A director elected to fill a vacancy shall serve the remaining term of his or her predecessor until such time as a successor has been elected, qualified, and installed. Committees. The board may from time to time appoint and constitute committees to take on certain special tasks and/or temporary assignments. Article 3, number and duties of officers. Section 1, number of officers. As stated in previous Article 2, the officers of this organization shall total 5. The officers of the organization shall be an administrative director, otherwise known as president or chairman, one or more vice presidents, as determined by the board of directors. At the current time, that includes the deputy director, otherwise known as vice president, a treasurer, a secretary, and one at-large seat currently constituted as outreach director. 2 or more offices may be held by one person, although the offices of secretary and president cannot be held concurrently by the same person, as is a dual sign-off required on certain items that may come before the body. The president may not serve concurrently as vice president. The vice president may not concurrently serve as president. Duties and responsibilities. The president or chief executive officer or chairman shall preside at all meetings of the board of directors and its executive committee, should such a committee be created by the board. The president or administrative director is responsible for the actions of the board and for ensuring that the actions of the board are carried out. The vice president or deputy director shall perform the duties of the president in his or her absence and shall assist the president in the office or the discharge of all leadership duties. It is noted that in this instance, the vice president or deputy director also has all technical responsibilities for the organization. Secretary. The secretary shall give notice of all meetings to the board of directors and executive committee, shall keep an accurate list of directors, and shall have the authority to certify all records or copies of records as official records of the organization. The secretary shall maintain the seal of the organization at all times. The secretary shall also be responsible for maintaining the minutes of the board meetings and all subsequent committee meetings, along with all general meetings conducted by the organization. Treasurer, otherwise known as chief financial officer. The treasurer shall be responsible for conducting all financial affairs of the organization as directed and authorized by the board of directors and the executive committee, if any, and shall make reports to corporate finances at all meetings as required, but no less often than at each meeting of the board of directors or executive committee. All other directors shall serve at large and shall undertake responsibilities as assigned by the administrative director or deputy director in their current role. Okay, Article 4, corporate seal and execution of instruments. The organization shall not have a corporate seal, however, will have an infamous seal. All instruments that are executed on behalf of the organization, which are acknowledged and which affect the interest in real estate or in any other significant asset, shall be executed by the president or the vice president / deputy director in his or her absence, along with the secretary or treasurer. All other instruments executed by the organization, including a release at law or any other binding instrument, shall not be considered the action of the board without the signature of the administrative director or the deputy director in his or her absence. Notwithstanding any proceeding of the provisions of this section, any written instrument may be executed by any officer or agent that is specifically designated by resolution of the board of directors, even if that person is not the administrative director. Article 5, amendments to the bylaws. Bylaws may be amended, altered, or repealed by the board of directors upon 2/3 majority of a quorum vote at any regular or special meeting. The text of a proposed change shall be distributed in accordance with the rules above, but to all board members at least 10 days before said meeting. Indemnification, Article 6. Any director or officer who is involved in litigation by reason of his or her position as a director or officer of this organization shall be indemnified and held harmless by the organization to the fullest extent authorized by law as it now exists or as may subsequently be amended by competent jurisdiction of a court or the legislature. But in the case of such amendment, only to the extent that such amendment permits the organization to provide broader indemnification rights. Article 7, dissolution. The organization may be dissolved only with authorization of its board of directors, given at a special meeting called for this purpose only, and with the subsequent approval of no less than 2/3 of the vote of the entire general membership. In the event of dissolution of the organization, all assets shall be applied and distributed as follows. All liabilities and obligations of the organization shall be paid, satisfied, and discharged, or adequate provision shall be made to ensure that this happens. Assets not held upon condition of requiring return, transfer, or conveyance to any other organization or individual shall be distributed, transferred, or conveyed in trust or otherwise to charitable or educational organizations which themselves are organized in the Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. Such an organization should be of a similar or like nature to this organization and shall be determined by a 2/3 majority of the board of directors as outgoing. Certification. Frank Cantor, the administrative director, president/chairman of the board, as president of Fair Internet Coalition, and Robert Boyle as secretary of the Fair Internet Coalition, certify the foregoing is a true and correct copy of the bylaws of the above organization duly adopted by the initial board of directors on this date. I certify that the foregoing is a true and correct copy of the bylaws of the above named organization as adopted by the board of directors on this date. Okay, end of reading. Switching back. Okay. So with that, now that I've completely exhausted my voice,
Great job.
are there any questions or comments or?
It all sounded pretty standard to me.
It's pretty straightforward.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did I hear that no directors would be exempted from a vote? And was that even with a conflict of interest? Was that what I heard?
That's what you heard. In other words, if there's a conflict of interest, it's up to. And of course we can change that. That's why we're having this discussion. The idea is supposed to be, and this was the idea of the attorney that reviewed it for me, not mine. But the idea is supposed to be that every board member is entitled to a vote. The thing is, it's supposed to be that given the fact that we have 5 people installed on the board of directors, one person voting with a conflict should not change the outcome of a vote. The only problem arises if a majority of us have the same conflict, which I can't imagine how that would take place. Unless we all become employees of Fairshake in the next few months. I don't see how that's going to happen. So, okay. I don't really see any issues with that. Anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns? anything that I do note that depending upon what happens, we might have to ultimately change the designation of secretary because Robert's not even here.
Yeah. Well, he's not
so-
secretary.
Right. Well, the thing is that I can't.
Yeah.
I can't countersign for myself. So
Yeah.
whoever that's going to be, we'll have to figure that out. Nonetheless, it is what it is, and hopefully we'll be able to get some kind of resolution for that, so that I can make that amendment for the second reading next month.
Well,
So-
I was going to say, when you were reading, I was going to say that perhaps as an interim, I could have the minutes transcribed, to help with that issue as we're trying to find a secretary.
Well, we are going to have to do something about that because
Yeah.
we are recording. At least I'm assuming that we're still recording. I
Yeah,
can't see
and
on my
Jay-
end.
We're still streaming.
Okay.
And
We're live on
Jacob can
Facebook.
give me that recording, and I can have it transcribed, and for that I can help.
Right. And as I mentioned before, whether we go
In
with
the-
whether we go with Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 in the near future, once we have our 501c3, those both have built-in transcribing functions. So
Oh, good.
it will
Yeah.
record and type out automatically everything that we're saying, and it'll mark down who's saying what. So that may not be
Yeah.
as much of as an imperative need in the near
Hassle.
future.
Okay.
Right. So for now, I'll just do it pro bono.
Right, which we
Okay.
appreciate.
And we do appreciate that on behalf of the entire board.
Yes.
So at this time, if there are no other questions or comments or concerns, I do have one last thing that I want to toss out there, and that's for Alec. And what I'm wondering is, going forward, I know we had talked about this both offline and also at in the last board meeting. Did we get any kind of motion or traction in terms of figuring out how we can involve younger sets of people to get some boots on the ground?
Well, I can speak on my experience with that. I don't know if we have any students in our community.
Yeah, just to kind of add on to that, based on the kind of demographic that I've seen in our base of followers from Facebook and Twitter, it's on the by and large, no
Older
younger
side?
than 40.
Yeah.
You know,
You said 40 and 50s?
yeah, I would say 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Established.
I imagine that the heads of households are usually the ones thinking about their internet service.
Right.
Right.
Because they pay the bills.
Yes.
And so
Really
college
folks who have
students, in
the-
my experience, that at least that are on campus have their internet provided by the school, and
Right.
it's not they don't share the same objectives, or I mean against companies.
I'm guessing things have changed since I was on college campuses. We didn't have internet access back then. All right, so
Well, think about it. I'll keep thinking about that for you, Frank.
okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's no other business, we can adjourn. The time is now 6:30 Eastern time.
Perfect
And if
timing.
there's no other, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll
I
make that
motion to
motion.
adjourn.
Okay.
Motion made by Kit Cowan, second.
Second.
Okay.
Seconded by Jacob Kraniak. Are there any objections?
And
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. We are adjourned. Sine die. Take care, folks.
All right.
Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
night.